Welcome, New England and Bermuda members, friends, guests. As I mentioned, my name is Elyse. I am a member of the eKiwanis Club, and I am so happy to welcome you to tonight's session. It's great to see all of you here on Zoom. I know it's been a couple of weeks since our last chat, so I'm really excited to see you all here and welcome those of you who are watching live on Facebook. The joys of social media, right? This is the first session in our 2021-2022 virtual workshop series, and the first monthly session that we're going to be offering in this series. As you know, last year under Brian's leadership, we did weekly workshops to make sure that we were all engaged as a district, as a membership, and to keep everyone in touch. But now that hopefully we're able to see each other a little bit more, we've kind of reduced it to monthly workshops. This is a reminder that all of our workshops have the potential to count as interclubs on your monthly secretary report. If your club has enough members attending this workshop, you get to report an interclub with each individual club in attendance. I see people doing it already, but to help everyone determine the number of interclubs they can report, we ask all attendees to just send a quick message in the chat, write your name and your club. If your club is eligible for an interclub, you can either write down the names of the clubs in attendance. You can click the ellipses, the ... next to the chat to save the chat so you can review the club names later, or you can visit our Google Drive of resources for a list of clubs represented at each workshop. That is compiled by our fabulous committee's interclub liaison, David Griffin, who is visiting us from not New England today. So thank you so much for being here, David, and your work always. You can find the link to that folder, our resources folder, in your weekly confirmation email, or it is also in the link tree. We've consolidated all of our websites and different links that we used to send into one link tree account. So we're going to pop that in the chat a couple times. If you save that, you'll have all of the information that you need all in one link. Look at us. We are keeping up with the technology. Before we start our workshop and hear from our fabulous speaker, just a quick housekeeping. Make sure that you keep yourself muted so we can make sure that we have an uninterrupted presentation. You are welcome to keep your camera on. It's nice to see everyone's smiling faces, but it is not required. If you want to see the screen as it should be screened for optimal viewing, you want to change your Zoom view to speaker view. So in the top right-hand corner, there's a little grid, a 9-box grid that says view. You can change it to speaker view there, and then you can see our speaker. If you have any questions for tonight's presenters, please feel free to post them in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook, please comment on the live stream with your questions. We'll have time for some Q&A at the end. Tonight's presentation will be probably a little bit less than an hour because I ran late in the beginning, but you'll be able to find the recording on the Facebook page, the YouTube channel after the fact. So why don't we get started? Tonight, we have a very special presenter to start our monthly workshop series. Jim Janosik, who is a friend of the New England and Bermuda district, is here to speak to us. He is starting 6 days ago, he is now the Ohio District Secretary and a member of both the Kiwanis Clubs of Worthington-Linworth in Ohio and the Centennial Internet Club. Jim is, as you learned in our workshop on Bermuda's history, he was one of the first people to purchase the Bermuda's celebration pin. So he was recognized last month in our workshop as well. So Jim is a big friend of our district. He has a lot of knowledge. So he is going to present us a workshop entitled Echoes of the Past, which is an opportunity to learn a bit about Kiwanis's early origins, how the organization thrived in service through some of the most challenging times. Jim had mentioned offhand to Brian, I don't know, maybe a year ago, that he has a vast knowledge of Kiwanis history. So I cornered Jim at a a bar at Salt Lake City at International Convention and asked him to present this workshop, which is why he's here. So thank you to Kiwanis International and celebrating with friends and being able to see friends in person. So welcome, Jim. Thank you. And why don't you take it away?
Well, thanks, Elyse. I appreciate that. And it was absolutely great to see you and so many other friends in Salt Lake City. And I'm happy to be here with my friends from New England, Bermuda tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to share. You really set me up there because you said vast knowledge, and I don't know how vast it is, but I have a strong inclination for, or an appreciation, I should say, for the Kiwanis family history. I over 2.5 decades, I've been involved with Kiwanis in one form or another, through Key Club or as a Kiwanian or as a friend of Kiwanis. So I was raised as a Key Clubber, and it was then that it was a kind of a foundational formative experience for me, where I was indoctrinated to learn the early history of Key Club and of Kiwanis. And those were things that we would be quizzed on at meetings, and we would earn prizes or candy or whatever. So I that really helped me develop an appreciation for it. Nowadays, as a member of the Centennial Internet Club, I really have an appreciation for showcasing our history where we can, recognizing the monumental successes of the past and what it took for Kiwanis to form as an organization over a century ago. So I have developed and amassed a bit of a collection of Kiwanis memorabilia, probably close to 20,000 individual pieces. Now that's, just pins and magazines and booklets, and I'm looking across the room at my showcases of stuff, and it's anything and everything that you could think of. And I like that because I have an appreciation of the history, but I also think that somebody needs to be a caretaker for the historical artifacts of our organization as well. So I'm honored to answer that call. And I've amassed a lot of my collection from Kiwanians that have wanted to pass along and have something remain in perpetuity for the organization and for some future benefit or purpose. I don't know what that is. So I am going to play a little quiz game. That's kind of how this is going to go tonight. We're going to talk about a couple of different areas. We're mostly going to talk about the early history of Kiwanis, and I'll interlay some accounts and stories as I am knowledgeable on. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring that up for everybody to see. And this is just a play along at home. There are no, it's like whose line is it anyway? The points are don't matter. Everything is made up and the points don't matter. So which is a game show that I love if you've never seen it. So track along at home and you can see how smart you are. And I will also preface this with I have a love of the Kiwanis history, but I am by no means a historian. So everything that I have here and have learned, and some of the excerpts that I'll read to you from are actually from a Kiwanis history book. So people that have much more vast experience in this realm than I do. So, but my goal tonight is really just to hopefully impart a little new knowledge about the early parts of our history. And then Elyse will chime in a little bit later with some of the New England Bermuda history. So here we go. All right, play along at home. Let's go to the first slide. So this one should be really easy. We're going to start easy. The first Kiwanis Club was founded in Detroit, Michigan, January 21st, 1915. Where was the second Kiwanis Club founded? So while you're thinking about that and thinking about your answer, I'm going to show one of my little Kiwanis Detroit #1 artifacts. This is a pin. It's a pin back with a little bell, and this is from the Kiwanis Detroit #1 Club, circa 1915 to 1920, from what I have gathered and have been told. So this is probably very likely one of the first Kiwanis bells before club bells became a thing in Kiwanis. So everybody have their answer in their head? Great. Okay. It was Cleveland, Ohio. October 19th, 1915. When Allen Brown brought Kiwanis to Ohio as the next expansion, Kiwanis was actually first incorporated in the state of Ohio. It received its first corporation papers from the state of Ohio, and that gave it its charter to expand throughout the state. And then they subsequently developed other charters and corporations in other states in the subsequent years. So one of the tricky answers on there, Windsor, Ontario, that is where the first international club was formed. So that's when Kiwanis became international. All right. What was the original name of the organization before it was changed to Kiwanis? Either A, the Supreme Lodge Benevolent Order of Brothers, or B, the Protection Guardians, or C, the Hanseatic Leaguers. Now, this is a time in the early 19th century where there were a lot of orders and leagues and everything popping up here, there, and everywhere. And Kiwanis was no different, but Kiwanis was not the first name. So if you have the answer in your head, it was affectionately known as the Bobs, Benevolent Order of Brothers. And that should have been Lodge, not Loge. But the Bobs basically is what it was referred to. So I'm going to read you a little excerpt here that talks a little bit about how the name Kiwanis actually came about and kind of what the interpretation or the several interpretations of Kiwanis mean. And this is, if anybody has a copy, this is from a book called The Kiwanis Legacy. This was last updated and written in 2004. But Allen Brown is quoted as saying that, "I went to the office of C.M. Burton, a histographer of the city of Detroit, and secured several suggestions of Indian words, among which the words nunce, Kiwanis, from which I evolved the word or name Kiwanis. He pitched the moniker at the next meeting of the Detroit Club when, with about 35 members in attendance, it was unanimously accepted. The word's derivation, however, remained a question in the minds of some Kiwanisers, as they were often called in the early days. Now we are Kiwanians. There were also the Kiwanians, when women were friends of Kiwanis or spouses. And they came up with their own logo and organization too. So Kiwanisers, if you hadn't heard that term before. Years later, in 1921, a letter of inquiry was sent that elicited a response that talked about several compounds of the same word with similar definitions. And it was generally understood to mean that every member of the order toots his own horn. So in the February 1917 premiere issue of the Kiwanis Club magazine, George Hickson explained Kiwanis was formed from a Chippewa phrase meaning I trade. Brown, bowing to Hickson's first-person singular interpretation, dropped his original we in favor of an I in a 1918 issue, and basically wrote that Kiwanis was derived from an Indian word to mean to trade or to barter. And the other interpretation, as I said, was to toot your own horn, to make a noise, to make oneself known, to advertise. Those are some different interpretations that was also made. But the matter wasn't quite closed. When in 1922-23, the international president wrote an article on the subject in the Kiwanis magazine, and he exclaimed that Kiwanis means rebuild. Not to be out-interpreted, his successor wrote the name and explained that it means to impress. So there were a lot of different things that came about, but the one that really kind of struck me, and they talk about in the book here too, is the Chippewa tribe, which this was found in an 1878 grammar dictionary, contained the verbatim definition Kiwanis, spelled just like we spell it now. And its interpretation was, I make a noise, or I am foolish and wanton. So there you have it. That's a little bit of history on our early name on how we became Kiwanis. All right, so let's talk about, I mentioned a little bit about the early magazine, but I have a vast collection of the Kiwanis magazines from over the years, and I'm going to show you one here in a minute. But first, answer this. What was the name of the first Kiwanis publication? Was it the Torch? Was it the Hornet? Or was it the Kiwanis Club magazine? So think about that for a second. And the answer is the Hornet, lasting for all of about 2 issues until the name was subsequently changed to the Torch, which also lasted a couple of issues. Back in the 19 teens, a torch was symbolized anarchy. And that's really why they got away from using that rather quickly. But I do have to share with you a copy of a November 1919 Kiwanis torch. This is an original copy. And they didn't do pictures on top of the magazines then. It was not until the 20s that they actually started doing photos. But the artwork is amazing on a lot of the Kiwanis magazines. If anybody has seen, particularly from the 20s and 30s, they've turned some of that into postcards now from the KI store. But and if you ever go to the Kiwanis International office, in the entryway there is a bronze bust of one of the editors, Ro Fulkerson. Ro was one of the most impactful people in the Kiwanis organization for many, many years. He lived in Washington, D.C. He was actually president of that Washington, D.C. club. He's now buried in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is where I was born, not too far from where his resting place is. But Ro was really instrumental. He wrote a lot of great things over the years, published a couple of books with his articles, spoke at conventions, really foundational person, instrumental in the development of Kiwanis for decades. So if you ever go to the KI office, for good luck, you're supposed to rub the Ro, which means you rub his bald head on the bust. So think about that next time you're at KI. So next question here. The first KI headquarters, since we're talking about that, was located in Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, or Detroit, Michigan. And if you answered Chicago, Illinois, which I got the order wrong, but Chicago, Illinois is the correct answer. And there were actually several offices of varying sizes. The first office, I think, was a two-room office, and it grew from there until in the 1960s. It was around the 50th anniversary year. A new Kiwanis building was actually designed and built. That building, unfortunately, no longer stands, but the architecture was amazing from it. And if anybody, I have some of the Kiwanis magazines from that time period and some of the architectural renderings. If anybody's interested in seeing that at a later date, I'd be happy to share that. So it was in the 1980s that we moved to Indianapolis, Indiana, when land became available. And I'll note that when one of the KI presidents at the time, Don Williams, who was from the Ohio district here, I have some of his some of the things from when he was international president, keys from different cities that he was given, and mementos and such from his travels in my personal collection. But he was the one that was instrumental when the building was getting built and getting the power lines to be moved underground so that the office would not be obstructed from its view along the Beltway. And so you can see the nice big globe that's out front of the KI office and everything else there with a nice unobstructed view. So next question. What year did the organization choose service as its purpose rather than business networking, which was what it was founded upon? And if you answered 1919, you would be correct. That's when the delegates at the International Convention pulled together $17,500 to buy the organization from Allen Brown so that they could own it outright, and he would no longer be able to profit from it. And they chose service as its purpose as opposed to business networking. Now, I will say that business networking remained, and still somewhat today does remain, a critical component of Kiwanis. And it's not a dirty thing. It's something that we need to promote too, because we get to know and trust people in business. And what better way to do that than through service and servant leadership. So, all right, next section. How many Canadian silver dollars did Walter Zeller auction off to establish the fund that started the Kiwanis International Foundation? This predates, obviously, the Kiwanis Children's Fund. The name was changed a few years ago. How many silver pieces? And the answer is 25. And the reason it was 25 is because it was on the 25th anniversary of Kiwanis International in 1940. I believe it was in Atlantic City. I could be wrong on that, but it was then that he auctioned that off, and they started the Kiwanis International Foundation, which still has this basically the same mission to serve kids around the world today. The location of the first convention following a 3-year World War II suspension. So if you didn't know this little part of our history, the first international councils were convened. They were called wartime councils, and there were minutes and such kept of those councils. And that's what kind of predates our international council today, which between World War II and just recently with the pandemic, the council was never reconvened. So as a emergency type of council at any rate. So that was in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The first Circle K International Club was chartered in, what year was it? 1947. And this is in my head, and I don't know that, and it's somewhere in there, but I believe that it was in California, but I could be wrong on that. I'd have to check back where the first Circle K was. I do know that the first Key Club was chartered in Sacramento, and that was in 1925. And their centennial anniversary is coming up here in a couple of years. So which city boasts the first Kiwanis Club in Europe? And this was in the 60s. I believe it was in 67. And it was sponsored by the Cleveland No. 2 Club. A delegation of members from Cleveland, Ohio, went to Vienna, Austria to charter the first Kiwanis Club in Europe. And so for 50 plus years, the European Federation has formed and endured. Just recently, though, they have dropped Federation from their name. So they are now known as Kiwanis Europe. So fun little fact for you there. And their convention will actually be in Vienna next year, which I hope to go to. In what year? Well, I might have answered this for you already. What year did the Kiwanis International Office move from Chicago to Indianapolis? It was in the 80s, and it was 1982. So that building is a little old now, but it's had updates, and it looks good. So what is the significance of July 7th, 1987 in the history of Kiwanis? All of you should know this, especially all of you women. That's it. It's the day the convention delegates voted to allow women to become members. Now, I will note that it took 2 years, I believe. It was the second time. I believe it came to the delegates in 1986 and was voted down. So the lesson there is it takes some time to make that change word come about. But if you don't succeed at first, try again, right? All right. When did serving the children of the world become the Kiwanis motto? So we talked about we trade very early on, and then it became we build, which lasted for many, many, many years. And it was in 2005 that serving the children of the world became the official Kiwanis motto. And let's see. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about this. How many millions of US dollars did delegates of the 1994 New Orleans Convention decide to raise to fight iodine deficiency disorders? This was our first worldwide service project. You probably see the IDD sign behind me. I was a big advocate and supporter of raising funds in this time period, 1994 to 98, when I was in Key Club, and helped to raise tens of thousands of dollars towards the $75 million goal. Now, fulfillment of IDD still endures today, and is funded through the Kiwanis Children's Fund. So those are ongoing efforts still in partnership with UNICEF. And the other big project was the Eliminate Project. This is a little more recent history. This was first announced at the 2010 convention in Las Vegas. And that was $110 million. I'm going to give you the answer right there. What amount was raised to pledge and has been fulfilled as of this past year, $110 million towards MNT. And again, yeah, that's a big round of applause because a lot of people donated a lot of money, a lot of fundraisers for that great cause. But again, that's something that's going to continue to be funded and fulfilled through the partnership of KCF and UNICEF. So that concludes that my slide portion. So let me stop sharing my screen. And I do want to share two other things. My stop share works. There we go. I wanted to share one of the very early, if anybody's a pin collector, raise your hand, pin collectors. Okay, a few of you. This is a Kiwanis past president pin. I'm gonna hold it up to the screen as close as I can so you can see it. But this is one of the very earliest iterations of a Kiwanis Club pin. And this would have been worn by, you know, club presidents and international presidents and such too. So I have no idea who this particular one belonged to, but we've come a long way with, haven't come a tremendously long way with our logo. It's still the K in the circle, but the club president pins look vastly different now. So what I wanted to wrap up with was, and kind of transition over to Elyse, is talking a little bit about club history, or district history rather, and how districts kind of formed. And I'm going to rely to my book here to read some of this. But there were originally 17 districts formed. And oddly enough, one of the first ones was actually called the Michigan Federation before the name district was kind of adopted. So, but the International Constitution for Kiwanis International had provided for 17 districts in 1917. But quickly, before the end of 1918, 22 districts had organized. So here's a little history on some of that formation. The Alabama-Florida district was organized, but they split then to two different districts in 1924. In 1924, the California district added Nevada, and they added Hawaii when it became a state in 1951. There was the Capital District, the Colorado District, which added Wyoming in 1920 and then later changed to the Rocky Mountain District that we know today. The Georgia District, the Illinois District, which in 1919 added Eastern Iowa. There was the Indiana District, the Manitoba District, which later changed to the Middle Provinces, and then to what we know today as the Western Canada District, or WECAN. There was the Michigan District, the Minnesota District, which added the Dakotas in 1920, Missouri, which added Kansas in 1920, and then split in 1951, and then added Arkansas in 1923. So they finally got that all figured out there. There was the New England District, which my book doesn't say when Bermuda was added, so maybe we'll find out about that. The New Jersey District, the New York District, Ohio District, the Ontario-Quebec District, which in 1927 added Maritime to the name. So it was the Ontario-Quebec Maritime District. But now we affectionately know it as the Eastern Canada and Caribbean District. There was Pacific Northwest, Pennsylvania, Southwest, Tennessee, which added Kentucky in 1920, the Texas-Oklahoma District, and the Wisconsin, which added Upper Michigan in 1920 also. Some of the other districts, the Carolinas, were formed in 1920, Lomiston, which is Louisiana, Mississippi, West Tennessee, in 1920 and 1938 through those mergers, Montana 1921, West Virginia in 1919, And I'll kind of wrap it up there because our history is ever evolving. Just a few days ago, our districts changed again because the West Virginia district is now part of the Capital District. So anybody's guess as to who the next district will be that merges or changes its name, we don't know, but history is an evolution, and it's something that we should be aware of and proud of. And I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about that with you tonight. And I will now turn it over to Elyse for some information on the great New England Bermuda district.
Thank you, Jim. That was very informative. There are a bunch of questions in the chat, but why don't I do my little spiel first, and then we can do your questions. Does that work?
Fantastic.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm just going to do some brief highlights on the New England and Bermuda district, because this is actually a special project that our past governors committee is starting to work on. They're trying to put together a comprehensive history that will be shared with members at a future date. So without giving too much away, I can talk about the history piece. And then once we have that project finished, we will share that. So as Jim just said, we were one of the first districts in Kiwanis International. On November 15th of the year 1918, the then New England district held its first convention 22 miles south, in Worcester, Massachusetts, with 13 all-male clubs. Obviously, we know why. We'll get to that a little bit later. They were the Kiwanis Clubs of Hartford, Worcester, Springfield, New Haven, Providence, Boston, Lowell, Bridgeport, Woonsocket, Stanford, Portland, Northampton, and Holyoke. Of those original 13 clubs, 9 are still active and 1 was rechartered a couple years ago. So we have 9 that are still carrying their charters, but 10 total of the original 13 are still active in name. The Kiwanis Foundation of New England was established in 1953 to be the fundraising arm of our district, much like Kiwanis International has the now called Kiwanis Children's Fund. And that's, through that, our district has been able to raise and distribute millions of dollars. In 1991-1992 Kiwanis year, we had our first and only international president thus far representing the New England and Bermuda district, and that was John D. Morton. I did some research after our workshop last month to answer a question that had been asked. And according to the records of past governor and past international trustee Fred Bishop, it was during the 1995-1996 year that we officially asked Bermuda to join the New England district. And the story that I like to tell is that we did that because we wanted to help balance out the Maine winters and give us, a nice warm place as respite, but that's not the actual story as to how Bermuda became part of our district. That's just the one that I like to share. In our history, our very long history as the New England and then Bermuda district, we've had 14 Kiwanians who have served as Kiwanis International trustees. 4 of them have served, 4 other Kiwanians have served on the Kiwanis International Foundation board. So we've had quite a bit of representation over the years at Kiwanis International. Since 1918, we have had 101 different individuals serve as our district governor. As you heard from Jim, women were invited to join Kiwanis in 1987 after Rotary did it first, and a decade after Key Club did it, but that's fine. We got there eventually. And in the 2003-2004 Kiwanis year, we had our first female governor, who was Carolyn Perry. And our current governor, Gayla Bartlett, is governor number 102, and she is the 5th woman to serve in this position. I just want to point out there that it's been almost 35 years that women have been invited to join Kiwanis, and we have had 5 women serve in that position. So ladies, get to it. Today, the New England and Bermuda district consists of about 20, well, we have 21 divisions. That's how we kind of regionalize our district. And we have almost 140 clubs. And this is the time period where Kiwanis International kind of shuts down the membership numbers, because we're starting the new Kiwanis year, ending the old. So I don't have a number of members, but we're in the maybe 3,400 members across our 6 states and the territory of Bermuda. So that was my little bit on New England and Bermuda history. So now I will ask some questions of Jim that came in the chat. No questions came for me that I've seen so far, but if you want to, feel free to ask. Okay, Jim, where are you? There you are. Okay. What inspired you to start studying the history of Kiwanis?
Well, as I said earlier on, I think it was the foundational experiences as a Key Club member, and just growing an appreciation for the traditions and the activities. The pin trading, was a Key Club thing through and through. Every convention, international. I became a pin designer back then and started using them as a fundraising tool for the IDD project, which I continue today for other to benefit other Kiwanis entities. So, I think that's just that's really what instilled that passion in me back then, and I've carried it through.
Great. What was the first piece of Kiwanis memorabilia that you acquired? Do you remember?
Wow. Yeah, I can't really pinpoint that. Don't really know.
Okay.
Probably a Key Club pin. That probably honestly was either my first Key Club member pin or my Key Club pledge card, membership card.
Where do you buy all of your memorabilia?
I do find some of it on eBay, or Etsy, or some other online shops. I tend to go to antique stores when I can, and there's fun in the hunt for that as well. And then honestly, probably 80% of my collection I have inherited from other Kiwanians and individuals who just had no desire to continue possessing those items, and because of their age or downsized and whatever their abilities, and they just wanted to have somebody be a caretaker for it. So that's really how most of it comes to me.
Great. Do you have one item that you feel is your most treasured item?
I have several things that are treasured, but some of them are probably more dear. And my dad is still around, but having my dad's Kiwanis name badge is something that I treasure having, because he joined Kiwanis when I was in Key Club. Having things that belonged to people that are no longer with me and with us, those hold sentimental value as well. I lost a friend who was in Key Club, a very special person, just recently, and I have a T-shirt that was made into a quilt, and it was her governor's shirt when she was Key Club governor, and so those are things that are more sentimental and dear to me in my Kiwanis collection.
That's lovely. A great way to commemorate people's memory. Yeah. Is there any specific item that you've been on the hunt for and are hoping to find? Maybe some of our members can do some eBay searches for you.
Yeah, I have eBay cornered because I get alerts for things when things pop up. So I check it once or twice a day. I'm a little fanatic about that, but there are some of the earlier pieces, from the 19 teens and 20s, magazines that are hard to come by, convention badges, especially. I do have some framed cases that have convention badges from the early years. They're very frail and again, hard to find, but even from the teens. Yeah, I can't say there's one specific thing, but if I see it and I don't have it and I'd like to have it and I can afford it and it all works out, then maybe it'll join my collection. We'll see. But
sorry, I want to unmute me. Brian commented in the chat that he has his eBay alert set, but he's going to try to not compete with you.
Well,
so if you're looking for anything specific, let us know and we'll put an alert out.
yeah, I do actually have a couple of buddies too that they're like, oh, hey, did you see this on that and whatever else? I'm like, yeah, I either have it or yeah, I won't bid against you. You can have it or whatever else. And then once in a while, I'll bid against somebody on something and I'll buy it and send it to that person too. So.
Oh, that's nice. Do you know if any of the original silver dollars that Walter Zeller donated still exist?
That's a great question. I really don't know. That'd be something if it did exist, maybe it would be in KI in one of their artifact cases, but I have never seen one there. That's something I might have to look into. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure they exist. Whether they can be tracked to being from that event and who has them, I have no idea.
Do you know why the Kiwanis International office is in Indianapolis, not Detroit currently?
They wanted to buy their own land and build their own building. Because of the size of the organization. I mean, the 1980s, 1990s, Kiwanis was at its largest, and they had outgrown the office in Chicago. So they had sent a search committee out to look at different cities, Cleveland and staying in Chicago or Detroit. I think Buffalo was on the list. Indianapolis. There were more than there were a good handful of cities that were looked at. It just ultimately came down to I think budget and what they could afford and central location and then getting a building built. So took a couple of years for all of that process.
That makes sense.
I don't think they intend to move it at any time soon, though.
Good. I imagine that big globe would be challenging to move. I don't think you mentioned this. When and where was the first Kiwanis International Convention? Do you know that?
Yeah, well, the first Kiwanis convention was in 1918 in Cleveland, actually, and it was a convention between the Cleveland and Detroit, and it would have been, I believe, Pittsburgh, maybe Rochester, like those first 4 or 5 clubs. Columbus, where I live, was the 5th club. So very early on, the first international convention, outside of the US, I'd have to look back and see where that was. I'm pretty sure it was in Toronto, is what I want to say, and I think 1921, I believe.
Great. Will you ever create a website with your research and pictures of your memorabilia?
One day.
Great.
One day. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would love one day to have some type of a historical center or, tradition, heritage society, whatever you might want to call it, but basically a facility that would be able to host and house all of the artifacts and history and stuff. KI doesn't have much of an interest in having anything beyond what they already have at the Kiwanis International office. So, but yep, that's on my to-do list one day.
The individual who wrote that in said that your knowledge and items should be shared widely.
I appreciate that. And it's, it should be a collective history too. I mean, it's not just my knowledge. There are a lot of other people that are out there that have a lot more knowledge than I do, but I also recognize that for some of those more seasoned folks that their time may be more limited on this earth. And so that might play a factor into me thinking about my time frame of getting all of this knowledge out of people and into a central location.
That makes sense. The last one for you is a comment. I am so glad I attended this presentation. I learned a lot and will share the recording with my club members. So thank you so much,
Fantastic.
Jim. There were two questions for me, one of which was from Brian, so I don't know if it counts. So Brian wrote, Elyse, who were the other female governors of our district? So we had Carolyn Perry, who was the first, then Suzanne Lamack, Vesta Brown, me, and Gayla Bartlett is the fifth. And we have the last question was, have we ever had a governor from Bermuda? And my answer to that is not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I believe Suzanne is a member of the Ohio Kiwanis now.
Oh, yeah.
She's living here. So I do have one last thing to share if we're just about out of time. There's an excerpt, a writing. I did not write it, but it's something that I would like to read with the group. So, and it goes like this, and it's titled Kiwanis. And it says, I wondered what Kiwanis meant when first I saw the pins. I wondered what could cause the boys to wear such happy grins. When meeting on the street with Howdy Jim or Howdy Jack, it showed me that Kiwanis traveled on the proper track. So I signed an application and enclosed my entrance fee to find out if Kiwanis could do anything for me. And this I have discovered, that the best of all my joys is this little hour of pleasure brushing elbows with the boys. At first it seemed quite silly to put on a paper hat and sing Poor Nelly full of jam and all such rot as that. Even ministers and bankers helped to warble Liza Jane. Kiwanis was a case of nuts. At first seemed very plain. But I soon got the spirit and I joined right in the fun and forgot my worldly troubles as the other men had done. I felt just like a kid made happy with new toys. Oh, it's sure an hour of pleasure brushing elbows with the boys. I used to pass them on the street. Perhaps they'd nod their head or grunt a careless howdy do, but now it's howdy Ed. A hearty slap upon the back, a real Kiwanis smile. The spirit of good fellowship sure makes this life worthwhile. It puts you on the proper road that leads you to success. The spirit of good fellowship can build but happiness. So here's to old Kiwanis and the methods she employs in keeping us together, brushing elbows with the boys. And this was before women were allowed, so boys and girls, it's for everybody. But that was from the very first, before there were Kiwanis songbooks, there was a Verso Cheer book. This is a hand-printed and leather-bound copy of that. And so this would have been from those very first couple of years of Kiwanis International. And I think a lot of that message still holds true today.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jim. And if everybody could please join me in a round of applause for our fantastic presenter, Jim. We really appreciate your insight and your knowledge in Kiwanis history. That was really, really interesting and really, I think I learned a lot. I'm hoping everybody else did too. It's great to kind of look back. Oh, I think someone was showing us something. It's great to look back on our Kiwanis history as we start our new Kiwanis years. Our Kiwanis year starts October 1st. So we're kind of early in our 2021, 2022 Kiwanis year. So it's nice to kind of look back, see where we started and kind of see our goals and where we're moving towards. So according to our interclub liaison, David, we have 10 clubs represented this evening, and a special plug for the Orono Old Town Maine Kiwanis Club because there are 7 members present this evening. So congratulations, guys. You get gold stars, each of you. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first of our weekly workshop series for the 2021-2022 Kiwanis year. So make sure that you save the date for the first Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Atlantic Time. You guys are the first to hear about it, but our November workshop is tune in to hear about one of Governor Gala's identified charities this Kiwanis year, an organization called HAWK, which stands for Healing Abuse Working for Change. HAWK is a 501c3 organization in northeastern Massachusetts that strives to help abused women, children, men, and non-binary people live free from violence and fear. So as you may know, each Kiwanis governor gets to choose a focus area for their charities and service projects throughout the year. And this is one of Governor Gala's focuses. So we will hear from Sarah Stanley, who is the executive director of HAWK. Also in November, there is a fall conference in North Conway, New Hampshire from November 19th to 21st. If you want to learn more about that, go to newenglandkiwanis.com. You can click it in our link tree as well, and you can register there. We will have somewhere in the ballpark of 17 workshops, 2 hands-on service projects, maybe a 3rd off-site. We'll have some pretty good presenters, and we have a lot planned for you. So if you're able to join us, that is November 19th through 21st in North Conway, New Hampshire. Remember to encourage your fellow club members to join us for free Kiwanis education opportunities. You can find more information on the district Facebook page, our district Facebook group, and newenglandkiwanis.org. Oh, I just said com, didn't I? newenglandkiwanis.org. Don't go to newenglandkiwanis.com. I don't know where that takes you. We also have a playlist of old videos on our YouTube channel. All of those links are now in that one link that Brian sent out. It's called Linktree. So all of those links are all consolidated together. If you're not receiving district emails about workshops, check your promotions or spam folders, or you can email us at education@newenglandkiwanis.org for more information. I would like to thank our district education committee members, which are Brian Cofrancesco, who is now assistant to the leadership development coordinator, and David Griffin, who's our interclub liaison, who helped behind the scenes to make these weekly workshops a success. So thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you to all of our members in attendance who were watching here on Zoom and also on Facebook. I want you guys to stay safe, be well. We'll see you in November for our workshop and hopefully at fall conference in person. Have a great night and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.